treatment. So now what you have is a calamity on your hands. And so I had meetings on this yesterday. We've discussed it multiple times with multiple countries today. And I think something needs to be done to cut off the weapons and the support that the RSF is getting as they continue with their advances. I think it's telling, the humanitarian groups are telling us that some of the levels of malnutrition and suffering that they're seeing from some of these people who have been able to flee is unprecedented. They've recorded things they've never recorded before. And I think even more troubling is that they didn't have the number of refugees they expected to receive because they assume many of them are either dead or so sick and malnourished they can't move anymore. So what's happening there is horrifying. We have worked, I think, all the way back to July and August on this quad because there are countries involved in helping these elements on the ground fighting. And we share many of the same concerns that others do about how that could turn into a nest for jihadist and terrorist activity, but the solution to it is not to fight a war where civilians literally are being targeted for rape, sexual violence, and murder. And that's what's happening.
But the
What's your assessment on the UAE's role in this
supplying
conflict?
them with drones, Chinese drones.
Yeah, so we're working hard at it. We know who the parties are that are involved. These things, that's why they're part of the Quad, along with other countries involved. And so I can just tell you at the highest levels of our government, that case is being made and that pressure is being applied to the relevant parties. I don't want to get into calling anybody out in a press conference today because what we want is a good outcome here. This needs to stop. I mean, they're clearly receiving assistance from outside that's allowing them. And clearly that assistance isn't just coming from some country that's paying for it. It's also coming from countries that are allowing their territory to be used to ship it and transport it. So that, in order for this to be solved, that needs to be addressed. I don't know if you saw the RSF a few days ago agreed to humanitarian ceasefire, but they don't intend to comply with it. And when you raise the issue of these atrocities, they always hide behind the argument that this is rogue elements. Well, it's not rogue elements. They're doing it systematically, and it's something that we have taken very seriously and are doing everything we can to bring the relevant countries to the table to stop it. It needs to end.
Would you support the Senate push, bipartisan Senate push, to label the RSF either a foreign terrorist organization or STGG?
Yeah, I mean, if it would be helpful in bringing this to an end, we would. I haven't seen that proposal. I know some senators discussed it with me months ago, but in the end, we just want this needs to stop. And I think, unfortunately, what's happening here is the RSF has concluded that they're winning, and they want to keep going. And by going, they're not just fighting a war, which war alone is bad enough. They're committing acts of sexual violence and atrocities, just horrifying atrocities against women, children, innocent civilians, of the most horrific kind. And it needs to end immediately. And we're going to do everything we can to bring it to an end, and we've encouraged partner nations to join us in this fight. And we're not going to let the Quad process that we've set up be a shield that people hide behind and say, well, we're involved with the Quad, we're trying to solve it. We need actionable results, and they need to happen very quickly. Otherwise, what's already a travesty is going to get far worse.
Can I ask you more specifically about your assessment of the scale of the atrocities? I mean, we heard these reports recently of 460 patients in a hospital, civilians being killed by the RSF.
Yeah, those are the ones that can get out.
Yeah, I mean, do you have an assessment of the scale overall of what's been committed in Al-Qaeda?
Well, I don't know about numbers. I can tell you that the one thing that I think was most shocking to us is that they anticipated receiving thousands of refugees, and they didn't. So obviously these aren't people that are happy living there after a year of siege against the city. There's a reason why they didn't come out. And we fear that the reason why they didn't come out is because they're dead, or because they're so sick and so famished that they can't move. So I think it's even worse. Not that refugee flows and crisis is a positive thing, but when the refugees don't come, and they would otherwise, you have these suspicions that they're either dead or unable or about to die, and that is just what really is weighing on us right now.
Secretary, back to Ukraine. Several allies here announced energy, support, fundings and other ways of support to help Ukraine stabilize energy grids. Was there any specific U.S. commitment?
Well, we've had those conversations with the Ukrainians about what they need, and I know that's ongoing. And clearly helping them survive the winter is important just on a humanitarian ground. The challenge is that Ukraine's energy grid has been diminished each year. So each year they start at a lower baseline than the year before. Now I think in Kyiv, for example, upwards of 50 to 60% of the day is spent without electrical power. And they've done a tremendous job of sort of rerouting their grid and trying to work around it. But that also means there are hours of the day where there's no water, there's no electricity. You have to schedule business and life activities around that. And that's clearly part of Russia's strategy, is to try to collapse morale within Ukraine and the will to fight. So, that's why we've been in discussions with them about defensive weapons to be able to protect their grid. And I know we've been in ongoing technical conversations about the specific equipment they need. But ultimately, if that equipment is ultimately destroyed a week later after it's installed, that remains a problem, and that's been the history the last 2 or 3